話します。
花さんはどの言語を話しますか？ Which language does Hannah speak? Which sounds okay if you say it in English, but in Japanese, maybe this could work as a written test question when you have multiple choices. But add something that you would say in real life, this will sound pretty awkward, like more awkward than Sawako saying Ohayo. So, gengo, language, is actually a pretty formal word for language, which is something you would say in your phone settings. So, is Hannah some kind of wifely housework robot with language settings? Or is she an actual human being and you're talking to her in person? In which case, you would use something like 何語 what language, and say, Hana-san, 何語話せますか? What language do you speak, Hana-san? And I also used 話せます can speak instead of 話します to speak, because in Japanese, in this context, we tend to use 話せます, which sounds like can you speak in English rather than do you speak. But different languages have different ways of phrasing things, and in this context, we'd use 話せます. And 何語 what language is a pretty useful expression because we use it all the time, and you can even use it like ブラジルって何語ですか? What language do they speak in Brazil? And you can answer ポルトガル語です Portuguese. And if you see a sign in the street and you don't know what language, you can also say あれ何語ですか? What language is that? And you can say タイ語です That's Thai. And another common verb here is 喋る to speak, and we use it as 喋れる to be able to speak, and say 花さん何語喋れますか? What language do you speak, 花さん? And 喋る is a little more colloquial than 話す. And generally speaking, with 喋る, the focus is on the act of speaking rather than the context of what you say. But the difference is pretty subtle, so maybe I'll explain it in another video. And if you think about the kind of situation where you would say this, it's probably something like, okay, Hana-san is not Japanese, and she speaks Japanese as her second language. But you don't know what her first language is. And in that case, you can use the word 母国語, the first language, the mother language, and say, 花さんの母国語って何ですか? What's your first language, 花さん? And another common expression is 何カ国語? How many languages? So you can say, 花さん、何カ国語喋れますか? How many languages do you speak, 花さん? And yet another common word is 外国語, foreign language, because 外国 means foreign countries. So if you're talking to a Japanese person, you can ask, 外国語喋れますか? Do you speak any foreign languages? And instead of 喋れます or 話せます, you can also use できます to be able to do. So you can say something like, 外国語は何かできますか? Do you speak any foreign languages? And you can use できます with the other words like 何語できますか? What languages do you speak? 英語できますか? Do you speak English? 4カ国語できます I speak 4 languages, and so on. Now, I said 言語 is a formal word, but if you're talking about something technical, you can also use 言語. For example, you can use expressions like 自動翻訳 automatic translation, 壁 wall. And if you are interviewing somebody, you can say something like 自動翻訳は言語の壁をなくすと思いますか? Do you think automatic translations will eliminate language barriers? So here, 言語 fits perfectly. Different context, different word choice. And if you want to acquire natural and practical Japanese, maybe you can join my email group because I have both free and paid lessons where you can learn Japanese with natural but easy and properly contextualized examples. So click on the link in the description or on the screen and subscribe to my email group, Japanese with Yuta.